Welcome to another Founder Wisdom Pod. We have Steven Kuhn with us today. He's building sustainable businesses and leaders. He's in Turkey. I'm in Oaxaca, Mexico. We're going to have some fun. He has a very interesting background, military background, has authored a couple of books. The Humble Alpha, if my memory is right, founder of the Humble Alpha. That's also a business, co-owner of the Vetpreneur Tribe from 2019 to 2022, has a high presence on Instagram. Is about fitness, enjoying life, and doing some business. We're going to talk about mindset today. Steve seems to have some great advices for us on that level. Podpire.com is presenting this podcast. If you want to start or monetize your podcast, go to podpire.com. It is also presented to you by Polya Mind. If you want to optimize your mind for focus, memory, and drive, as a busy entrepreneur, you can go to neurohacker.com/CEO wisdom. Steve, welcome to the pod. Tell us a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Interesting concept. I'm an American living in Turkey. I served in the U.S. military for 7 years, from 1986 to 1993 in Germany. Had a tour in Iraq, went back to Germany, got out. And I stayed in Germany, and since then, that was in 1993, and since then I've owned over 20 businesses, turned around over 100, ran everything from corporations with 3,500 employees, 87 locations in 9 countries, all the way down to my own cocktail bars, nightclubs, insurance companies, construction companies, just about everything out there. Then I got into the mergers and acquisition space, started acquiring companies, at least parts of companies, and then we got into sustainable energy space, where we do very large solar farm deals here in Turkey, as well as some other larger deals in the infrastructure space that I've done in Eastern Europe. It's a short story for a long process. There was a lot of ups and downs in there. There was homelessness, there was suicide attempts, everything from A to Z was in there. But I'm here today. I'm married to an amazing woman from Ukraine. As I said, we live in Turkey, and we enjoy the life in the Mediterranean while we travel the world. And I speak on different stages all over, and preach about what it really means to be free, financially and geographically free.
Right. Let's start with the military. What happened once you were in there? What lessons did that brought you, and what mindset and mental model did you carry with yourself from there up to this day?
Sure. Well, I think it's important to look at why I went in the first place, or how I went in. I went in as a guy. I was in high school. I loathed myself. I didn't like myself. I didn't have many friends. I wasn't in shape, and people thought I was dumb, and they I didn't have many friends. And so I knew I had to get out of there, or else I'd be stuck in that cycle forever. And I knew that at that young age of 17. So I signed up for the Army at 17, joined, left when I was 18. And upon entering, they cut your hair off, all of your hair. I had 1980s mullet, so it was like, sort of all the way down the back. And I showed up, and they started shaving my head. And I said to myself in the mirror, and I'll never forget this is the new you. From now on, you're who you think you are, and not who other people think you are. That was the biggest change for me right there. I knew it was it was life altering at that moment. I actually was aware of that. And then we got to the obstacle course, where you crawl under the wire, crawl over the wall, up, down, all this kind of stuff. I got to a wall which was leaning at me like this, no rope. I had to get over the wall. It was about 2.5 meters high. Couldn't do it. The drill sergeant threw me down in the dirt and was like, put his foot in the back of my neck, called me every name in the book. I got super angry, jumped up, and with one fail swoop, jumped the wall. And I landed on the other side. I was like, oh my God, that was me the whole time. It was me the whole time saying I couldn't do it. And from that point on, I knew I could do whatever I wanted to do. And I did in my whole life, from everything from working for politicians, rock stars like Mick Jagger, Olivia Newton-John, Andrea Bocelli. I still hang out with Andrea Bocelli. Just got back from Italy last week, where we hung out with Andrea and people like, I don't know, just all kinds of crazy people. But anyway, I think the military taught me one thing, and that was consistently believe in yourself and you will make it happen, period. Because you have no other choice. And that's the difference. In the civilian world, you're not going to die if you don't make it. In the military, if you don't get that mission done, you may die. So it pushes you past the edge of what you think that you're capable of. And then once you get used to that, or you've experienced that 1 or 2 times in war, or in combat training, it sort of sticks with you. It's sort of like a balloon. If you know, when you have a balloon, you know, it stretches. If you blow it up and let the air out, it never goes back to where it was. It's always a little stretched out. I think that's how it is with art. With anyone who's gone through an extreme situation, it never goes back to where it was before.
There you go. But the journey wasn't a soft road. It wasn't a highway. It was quite bumpy. Tell us about, yeah, traumas accumulated along the way. Tell us about the demons you had to face, the suicidal thought, and yeah, how do you actually conquer that?
I don't think you ever conquer it. Tell you the truth, I think anyone I know who's contemplated suicide, it never goes away. You just learn how to deal with it. I look at it. Well, let me go through the story first. Is when I got out of the military, there was no transition, no process, no help, no nothing. Back then, PTSD was an unknown factor. No one talked about it. No one knew anything about it. And I got out of the military, stayed in Germany, and became a doorman at a club in Berlin, Germany. And you know, I just fought all the time because I was angry. I was mad. You got to realize I got out of war, and 5 or 6 months later, I was a civilian. That was it. And a big part of that was my identity as a soldier my whole life. Because when you're in the military, you have a uniform on, you see the stripes, the name, the tag, everything. You can look at me as another military member, know exactly what I did, how long I've been in, what I've done, and all these awards and all this kind of stuff. But in the civilian world, no one knows who you are. So I'm standing at the club, and there's a guy comes up, wants to get in. I said, "You got to be 18." He said, "Get a real job, old man." And that just shocked me. I'm like, I just got back from war where I lost one of my best friends, and I, you know, was being shot at, and I had to do things that I didn't want to do. And there's this guy calling me an old man to get a real. It just made me so angry, and I started to fight. And in that 1 year, 1.5 years, I fought every day. I had probably easily over 100 fights in that year and a half, because I was just so angry, and I would use it as a vent. And then I finally broke down from that, and had to rebuild myself a little bit, which I did. And I came back out of it, had another cocktail bar and all kinds of stuff, and a nightclub, an insurance company. And then in 2008, I had a run in with the police where I pulled a weapon out of their holster, held it to my head, and was ready to go. Ended up, the police officer who I pulled the weapon out of was a young girl. She gently took her hand and put it back into her holster as she turned towards me, and said that she knew who I was and that this wasn't me. Because I had written books in Germany, and she apparently had read one of my books. And that was more powerful than someone holding a gun to my head. That was more powerful than someone beating me down or whatever, because there was someone who, in a moment like that, wasn't scared and actually looked at me, into me, and said, "I know who you are." And it shocked me, but I wasn't secure yet. I wasn't safe yet. So I called a friend, and he picked me up, or sent me a plane ticket. And I ended up in a monastery in Austria, in the mountains of Austria, for a good 8 months with the Benedictine monks, where I then found myself again and sort of rebuilt who I was and realized my truth. Got out of there, left Berlin, went to Budapest, and started a new life and a new business and other businesses. So it's a long journey. The demons are still there. You don't get rid of them. I still have days. I get up every day like, today's the day. Like, wow, every day I'm like that, because I have to be. But sometimes you wake up, you just want to stick a knife in your throat. You just don't feel like it's your life. You feel like, what's missing? And so it's a mixture between the demon that keeps you down and the demon that keeps you searching, right? So that demon is an emptiness inside of me personally, and I'm looking to fill that. So I'm always striving to be better, stronger, faster, harder, more successful, just constantly looking and scanning, but in a manner where I'm adding value to everyone around me. I call it, radiant value. So I do what's good around me, that creates radiant value to allow others to do what's good around them. And I truly don't just say that, I truly believe that. I live that hardcore. And if anyone who's ever worked with me knows that.
Right. Let's start with the monastery. I've done the 10 days silent retreat myself, and can't say I struggle with those, but I'm not fully in. Yeah, I think there's better use of my time than to stay silent for 10 days. I have so many insights on a daily basis using other mechanism, and I think I can have an impact on the world, like you said, rather than standing with myself, and not doing anything for 10 days. You did 8 months. That is way longer. What was the impact of that on you? Do you feel was a nice ROI of your time?
The ROI is I have a place of like a source to go back to whenever I need it. I've been back there also physically, been back there a few times, brought my wife there, brought my kids there. But basically what it did, those 8 months, I wasn't meditating the whole time. I was literally just living in the monastery. And there was a guest house across the street where they have, you know, the old German, Austrian type kind of food and drink. And I'd sit there and read books all day. They coined me the nickname of the professor because I was reading all the time. I got to meet some really, really cool people. I helped in the cafe in this guest house. They were doing weddings every day. There was a wedding every day, and they had these big vats of silverware in water that they had to clean and polish. And I just sat there and polished silverware for sometimes 6-7 hours straight just to help them out because I had nothing else to do, right? But it was like therapy for me. I had nowhere to be. I had no urgency to do anything. I had no responsibilities for anything except for me. And it allowed me to let go of all the things that I think that I have to do, have to be, have to say, have to wear, have to go. All these things are outside pressures that we don't need in life, right? We decide if we truly want to be happy. We decide what, where, how, and when, who, right? And I learned that there in almost a peeling away of process. I sort of peeled away all of these things that I thought. Because when I showed up, I'm like, okay, Mr. Monk, how you doing? My name's Steven. This is my problem. What do you got? What's the solution? You know what I mean? Like, bring it. You know what I mean? I was sort of like that. And he's like, go into the forest and just spend some time there. And I'm like, what? You got talking trees or something? And I was like very sarcastic. And it took a good 2 weeks for me to calm down. And I not only calmed down, I came down. I ended up realizing things about myself that I didn't know. And I've received a gift there that I carry to this day with some things that I can do energy wise, which has become quite well known in some circles. And it's all about, and I truly believe from my process there, what I went through, I truly believe that anyone can do anything if they just let go of everything that they think they're supposed to be doing. You know, it's like,
So some wisdom in slowing down. Yeah, maybe I should A/B test some more with that. Although it's painful for me. I mean, don't feel pain at this point, but yet I don't like the idea of just stopping. And related to that idea, you mentioned that you had some emptiness and always something to chase. And I'm pretty much the same. Yesterday, I reflected on that on my newsletter. I've been clearing my schedule lately because I used to do like 100 sales calls per week, which is quite intense. I'm quite extreme as well. And I slowed down. That was supposed to give me more time to think, but nowadays I feel bored, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to restart this machine again. And it seems that I'm missing this something. I should be a billionaire by now. I should be more busy and growing my network or something like that. What's your key to fulfilling that and making sure that you're productive and satisfied, or is there no such thing as satisfaction?
well, there is satisfaction momentarily or short-term satisfaction. There always is. If you're satisfied, then you're going to stop growing. If you stop growing, you're probably going to die. So there's a fine line between it, right? You don't, if I don't look for jobs or tasks to fill my void, I look for experiences and fulfillment or I attract them rather, right? So when I say I'm looking for things to do, or I'm looking to fill that void, it's experiences with my wife, with my kids, travel. We travel all the time. I get on stages, the largest stages in the world, and I get to speak next to people like Tucker Carlson, Deion Sanders, and things like that. It blows my mind. And that they're the kind of things where I can, at the same time as receiving, I can give back. And I feel like that's the balance that I find. If I'm doing something just for me, that's nice. But that reciprocal, that mirror, because I'm a true believer. If it's out there, it's in here. If there's something out there that bothers me, there's something out there that gets in my way, there's something out there that's really getting on my nerves, it's because it's in here. So I need to work in here first. Once this is clear, this all gets clear, right? And for me, I have zero need to drill myself every day for jobs, for careers, for anything like that at all. I know that let's say my secret weapon is I'm a powerful connector. I connect anybody with anybody. It doesn't matter. Number two is I know how to leverage relationships so that both parties win in deals, very, very big deals. I mean, $100 million deals plus, where you're making introductions, ensuring that both parties are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and then both parties profit, as do I. And that's where my magic power came from, and that's what I do with my clients. I help them find the relationships in their networks. You know, everyone says your network is your net worth. No, it's not. The relationships are your network, or your net worth, right? And I always tell my clients, my network could be your net worth if we work together, because what I do is I look in my clients for their relationships. What do they need and what do they have for problems that they need solved? Can my relationships solve those problems? And if yes, then we can all profit from it. So it's sort of that. It's always that 360 degrees. It isn't just for me, right? And I'm not saying that to be selfless. It's like, I know how I tick. I learned that about myself, is I feel good when I help others. Matter of fact, before I get on podcasts, I always have a session with a client or a call with someone who needs some help, because it pumps me up. It gets me to the point where I'm like, yeah, I'm proactive. I'm looking for solutions. I can talk well, articulate, boom, boom, boom. And so if you know that, then you can feed yourself. And that's what I do to stay fulfilled and move forward. I'm never bored. Never. I could sit by myself for forever and I would never be bored.
Right. Yeah, I'm neither am I bored, but I feel that, yeah, I could be doing more, which is a recent feeling, because I think that bored people are just boring themselves.
But Charles, you can always be doing more. Just think of it that way. You can always
yeah,
do more. Do you want
yeah,
to?
right. But I'm human, and
Yeah.
I think probably AIs would do a better job at doing more than myself. Um, what do you think of psychedelics to accelerate progress and bring insights to one? Because yeah, silent retreat is the long way to do it, but I'm more the extreme type and love to be thrown in deep waters from the get-go and yeah, get what I want quickly. What's your take on that?
Well, I've been working with plant medicine for 17 years, 18 years now. I've worked extensively with ayahuasca and San Pedro in unison. So the masculine and feminine, you do ayahuasca at night, the very next morning, Pedro. The masculine is the visionary, the holistic. Pedro is the action-oriented, fix it, right? And from Pedro, I've had the title of my book, the name of my company, what kind of companies. I wrote an entire TED Talk on a subject matter I have no idea about while I was on Pedro. It was downloaded to me, and I read it to the TED guy. He's like, holy shit, you got to do this. I haven't brought myself to do it yet because it's really controversial, but I downloaded it while I was on Pedro. Very, very instrumental in clarity. Very instrumental in clarity. I've worked with Bufo, combo. It's not really plant medicine, but it's still a medicine combo, as well as psilocybin. And for me, the clarity, the number one clarity I get is from Pedro, because I actually have a dialogue with San Pedro, with the medicine. You ask questions, you get answers. You ask a question back, you get answers. It's almost like an instructional medicine that I use. Absolutely mandatory for me. I couldn't imagine my life where I would be, how I would be as a person if I wasn't working with plant medicine.
What's the controversial download you had? Tell us.
You mean from the TED Talk?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, it's called The Eye of the Black Woman. And the premise is the most oppressed person on the planet, no matter which culture you look at, is the Black woman. It doesn't matter where you go, it's the Black woman, the dark woman that are always the most oppressed. And they are the true mothers of the earth, right? They are the true mothers of the earth. This is a download, the true mothers of the earth. And they are also the only ones who can truly lead us into, I don't want to say bliss, but into a co-living experience with other, global citizens. But there's some stipulations that go with that, according to Pedro, according to my download. And that is that they have to do it on their own accord. They can't get help. They can't have other people leverage it. They can't leverage race. They can't leverage color. They can't leverage any religion. It's got to be on their own accord. And I have no idea where it came from. But when I read it to them, to the TED Talk guy, he was blown away. And so that's the controversial. I have no idea where it came from, man. No
Yeah,
idea where
well,
it
it
came
makes sense. I mean, and yeah, we came from Africa, like all of us, right?
from.
Like, and yeah, power to Beyonce and Rihanna to change the fucking world. I like it. That's interesting. And yeah, like sometimes these substances, it's like alien stuff. You don't know really where it comes from. It's just there. Like my
Yep.
last psilocybin trip, it was a black sphere rotating with rings of gold around it. I still don't know the meaning of that. I need to probably do some more introspection, more research. Talking about these teams, you seem to be pretty balanced throughout like all your life areas. Tell us about like your fitness routine and how you maintain your sanity and biohack on a daily basis to get the best out of your brain.
Well, I don't believe in balance. I believe in integration. Just to give you an example, you can't balance on a bike unless you're moving, which means you're integrated in the movement and you have momentum. And when you turn a bike, you don't turn with the handlebars, you lean into it. So you're integrated into the structure of the bike and you become one. That's sort of how I live life, right? So everything that I do, I never go on vacation without work, and I never go on work without vacation, right? So I'm always mixing the two, free time, work, whatever it is. And when it comes to fitness, I've been training since I was 14 years old. I'm 57 right now. I'm in excellent shape. I'm actually very buff. You don't see it, but I'm actually very ripped. And I don't go crazy either. So my biohacking is a clean diet. First of all, that's hard to do in America, which is why one of the reasons why I lived in Europe for so many years and now in Turkey. Clean, good food, right? That is the most important thing. A lot of quality water with minerals in it, not that battery water that you drink in America that actually dehydrates you. And I make sure that I put sea salt in my water as well, because that replenishes your cells. All kinds of NAC and all the typical stuff, the neurotronics and stuff. But I like to take the natural things. I take a lot of the natural mushroom extracts for clarity. I just stay healthy. I don't go crazy. I take some BHP 195 for injuries or some peptides every once in a while to recover. I just make sure that I stay. Put it this way, I'm basically my whole life in a very low level of meditation. Like I never drop down to just being here. So I'm always aware of the energies around me. I'm aware of my body, what it's saying to me. I'm aware of what happens when I eat some food. I feel exactly what's happening in my body. So I'm always aware. My wife, my kids, I'm hyper present all the time. Presence comes from being present. So when I walk into a room, my presence basically fills the room because I'm so present in that moment. I'm so aware and I'm so connected to everything around me. So I sort of say at that low, I want to say low vibration. It's more of like a high vibration at a low meditative state. So, and I believe at the age of 57, I look younger and feel younger than I did 10 years ago. And also what happens then is you attract things into your life that keep you there and that feed that. And so attraction is much more powerful than going out and getting. When you learn how to attract, running after something just becomes like fruitless. Like, why would I even do that? Then we just attract it because you get the good things that come and attract to you.
Can you tell me about the humble alpha um, state of mind or mental model? Because like humble, I don't never really liked the word. I think that humble people are sort of using that as a strategy to conquer. I don't view myself as humble. I'm not the bragging type, but I'll say pretty much everything that's on my mind, even it. I mean, if it's true, I will say it. Or if I did my homework and scientifically one fact is true, I will say it. And I prone transparency so that other entrepreneurs can succeed and literally copy paste my strategy. So tell us about the humble alpha part of things.
Well, humble isn't a state of mind, it's a state of being, right? And the humility is on the outside, the alpha is on the inside. That's the way I always say. A lion is a lion. You look at a lion, oh, that's a lion. The lion doesn't have to roar and say, look at me, oh my God, I'm amazing, I'm powerful, I can kill you. You look, there's a lion, right? And that's the issue that I have with this. People talking about not toxic masculinity. There's no such thing. They're talking about machoism, right? People yelling loud to get attention. And that comes from a personal deficit that they have, right? Some kind of, from their past or some self-belief that they have that they need to outwardly project to get the attention to feel like they want to feel. Well, I believe we have a nuclear reactor in our chest, men and women, basically, here, our solar plexus, that is our alpha, right? And when we feed that, we are all powerful. And what that does is you create certainty. And certainty allows you to let go of the how you do anything. Number one. Number two, people buy your certainty in your product or your service. They don't buy your product or service necessarily. They buy your certainty. If I'm talking to you, I'm not stuttering and I'm not looking around and I'm not, looking somewhere else, and I'm present with you and I'm clear with my mind and I'm certain of my words, you're typically you're gonna start working with me. And so that's what I talk about when I'm home. I don't have to say, hey, look at me, I'm kicking ass and I'm gonna just, I don't need to do that. Well, sure, I'll do it sometimes because I get excited, but I don't have to do that. The presence that you have from being the alpha on the inside creates that humility on the outside, because you don't have to, just like you see lions, right? They just sit there and they look at you like disinterested, like, yeah, whatever, walk by. but you know in 2 seconds they can open their mouth and rip you apart, right? You just know that. That's sort of what I'm talking about when I say humble alpha.
Yeah, it's an energy efficiency as well as probably a keyword there. Um,
Good
tell
point.
you talk a lot about your wife. How is she your yang? And also talk about how Lane Belone is your yang in
Okay.
business.
Okay. Well, my wife, like I said, she's from Ukraine, had a pretty rough childhood, as you can imagine. And she's a very, very strong woman, but ultra feminine, like ultra feminine. Very traditional values, man, woman, child, that's it. Very, very traditional when it comes to what the man is responsible for and what the woman's responsible for. But she's absolutely beautiful, like I said, very, very feminine. So for me, it was always in the Western world, you have the powerful women and then you have the feminine women. And I've very rarely had a powerful feminine woman that I've met. Well, she's that one. And she pushes me hard, right? In a soft manner, but she pushes me hard into my outside of my comfort zone, outside of my belief zone, even sometimes. And she will not hold back, right? She does not hold back because she sees what in me what I see in her. And we do that to each other. Look, when I met her, she was a mother, and now she's done her first $100 million deal. And this is within a year of actually 6 months of us getting married, less than a year of us knowing each other. And that was back a year ago. And she's someone that I wake up every day and go, holy shit, I can't believe this is my wife. Like, honest to God, like that's truly what it is. And Lane and we've taken a hiatus. He's gone on his spiritual journey, deep into a spiritual journey. But Lane actually came to one of my retreats in Cusco, Peru, to work with ayahuasca in San Pedro. That's where we met. We ended up working together. He's an American Indian, 100%. Very spiritual. Wasn't at the time, but he is now. Works for psilocybin. Is an incredible guy who you should probably talk to if you get into that. And just he's actually doing another retreat in Peru in September, October, I think. Same place where I had my retreat. He works with the Quechua tribe, the last descendants of the Incas. He goes up to their mountain. He goes to the islands and does retreats. He's a ordained priest, I guess you could say, from the Quechua. They actually made him one of them. Pretty amazing guy.
Very cool. I think we 360'd a lot today, which is pretty good. Where can people find out more about you, Steven?
Yeah, just go to Instagram, Steven Eugene Kuhn with the Eugene, or Facebook or LinkedIn, Steven Eugene Kuhn. Otherwise, email steven@humblealpha.com. And as a business coach, I help square people away in their business, get their mind squared away, set right, and open them up so they could receive what they actually truly deserve. And then we go out and make deals.